to say again another nice welcome. We have a number of grade 5 parents with us that just had our transitional morning a few minutes ago. So again, I want to welcome you to the middle school community. And there's a number of returning 6th, 7th grade parents. And so it's nice to see some familiar faces with all of you here today as well. This afternoon is really about sharing the next steps of where we go in our educational program at AIS for your son or your daughter. And it's very exciting. This is my 3rd year in Hong Kong and at the American International School as middle school principal. And my first year when I was here, we had just sort of purchased Macs for the computer lab, and students had computer class once a week for 35 minutes, I believe. And then year 2, we changed the schedule around. We made it a bit more holistic, and thanks to the PTA, we also were able to purchase a laptop part, which was now giving us the resources to be able to have technology in the classrooms a little bit as well. So students then were able to use the laptop parts in certain classes, as well as have computer class now 4 days out of the 6-day cycle versus just once. Okay, so big change there. This year has really been about taking it to the next level. I would say now technology is being used by all the teachers in all the classrooms. It's being used for research as well as how students demonstrate their knowledge in various projects. It's being used as a means of creative expression in certain classes. It's being used for people to be able to, please come in, access information. And so it's a really exciting time for us. The other big news from this year is that we were able to upgrade our wireless network and really put some key pieces in place from both the educational perspective in terms of standards, projects, things along those lines, as well as training for teachers, as well as key personnel, for us to move forward for next year. And so we're very excited that as a school, not just as a middle school division, but as a whole school, we are looking next year to move forward in what's called a BYOT, or Bring Your Own Technology, to school. And so that students will be expected to really increase their level of technology use in an educational capacity. Okay? One of the key people that has been helping us do that is Mr. Andrew Chu. For those of you that have children currently in the middle school, it is Ms. Catherine Chu, your child's art teacher's husband. Mr. Chu is going to be our educational technology coordinator next year. And so he and I have been working very closely, especially the past couple of weeks, to sort of roll this program out. So today is about coming together for us to explain a little bit of our vision and what it's going to look like, as well as to answer questions you have, all right? And to sort of bring everything together for you. Okay? So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Chu.
Hi. Good. So I think Mrs. Smith has given us a good introduction to that first part, onwards and upwards. That's the story so far, and if you walk around campus any day, you'll see that very intertwined with any learning is technology somewhere along the way. And we're just taking this to the next step and the next level. So I'll just tell you a little bit about technology at AIS and what is it for us. I don't think it's really important for us to look around and go, are we using technology? That's not the important thing. The important thing is the outcomes, the results from that. So technology, it brings about a whole load of opportunities, and we realize that, and that's our focus. And our focus, particularly at AIS, is about learning and community. That's our school. Our ESLAs are all about that. The world, community, the global citizen, right? All the way down to the individual, the well-rounded individual, how we communicate, how we think about things, the world. So that's really it in an essence. It's about creating opportunities. And there are three major things that in my mind, is what it does. When we bring about some technology, it usually breaks down some barriers. It makes possible some things that weren't possible before. So now I can talk to somebody who is over in the USA, when before, maybe it was a bit difficult. We had telephone maybe. And before telephone, impossible, right? So it breaks down some barriers and therefore opens up some opportunities. There's another element about it, which is how quick and how fast it can be, or just in time. Oh, well, who won the whatever competition last year? We can just get it out, Google, and we can find it straight away. So there's this just in time, this instant effect. And our kids have grown up in this. They take an online quiz, they know the answer straight away. Was I right or was I not? They get instant feedback. And they play a game, oh, I did the wrong move. I lost a life or something like that. They get some instant feedback. And so bringing that to education is very exciting. Right now, some students are going through exams and they don't get that instant feedback yet. Right? They write their exams, they wait till next week when the teacher's graded, and then they get the feedback. And so in that time, we lose a little bit of information or a little bit of memory, a little bit of what was relevant. And maybe the motivation also changed because of that. And the last thing is data. So when we use technology, there's a nice data trail that can be very useful. We can see things that we've never seen before. And that's very useful for a student because a student can get access to all of this, but they can also learn more about themselves. So I'm wearing one of these, like a Fitbit or a Jawbone or something like that, and it counts my steps. So before I can guess, was I active in the day? Now I can see, oh, I actually was really lazy today. I only have done 2,000 steps, right? And I can, over time, improve my own performance or gain some of my personal goals. And so these are the exciting things, these opportunities that technology brings about. And that's what we're really about. So time for a story. Opening doors, and this is continuing on with what I'm talking about here. I have a daughter, she's 4 years old, and she can now dress herself. And she opens the cupboards, and she can get her clothes and put on her own clothes and everything. And she's also found where Mummy's makeup is. So she now goes to Mummy's makeup drawer, pulls it open, and gets things out, right? And she can access it. And that's kind of like what technology for education is about. It opens up some opportunities. The door is now open where maybe you couldn't go before, and now our children are like, wow, great, what is it? And they can follow their interests and experiment and find out about things. But of course there's some guidance that is required because there she is there. If you're wondering what she's wearing some tights as well as her Elsa dress, and then she put a jacket on top of that, a jumper and then a jacket, and then she found a headband and she put that on top. And she looks absolutely ridiculous in this. And this is where we come in as parents or as educators and adults. Because although they can access and they know how to go through that door, they don't necessarily know what are good results out of that. And so that's part of the role. And actually this is a closer picture of her, I don't know if you can see, that's her with the makeup, and it's all everywhere. And she thinks she looks beautiful, but she needs to also learn a little bit about maybe what's acceptable in society, what goes where, how to use it to more of an expert level, right? And so that's where I see our role. We don't have to be scared about opening this door. We don't have to be scared about giving them the technology. So long as we remember that we still have a very relevant role in the guidance and in that whole part of it. In helping them understand all of what's being available. We have a quick video here. Let's see if I can get this to run. It's just sort of framed what technology in AIS is. Music was by our high school technology music class. that's our vision. It comes down to that the learning and the community. I seem to have lost my slides here. So let me go back. Okay. So that's where. So as long as that's sort of the stage that we're on. And this next step that we are taking next year is middle school and high school. We're requiring every student here to bring their own technology. And there's many reasons for that, but probably you're thinking, wait, first of all, what's the technology that we have to bring? So let's get into that. We're looking at providing the internet to every student. But the internet can be a very different experience depending what device, what you're looking up, how you're accessing it. And so we really want to keep that very individual and the power and the onus, the responsibility with each student. These are the kind of requirements that we're looking at. It breaks down to three major things. It's not necessarily 3 devices, but it's 3 major things. So for every class, we need students to come with at least a 9-inch screen. And that device probably should have the physical keyboard, right? So a laptop is fine. You might also consider an iPad with a keyboard or a tablet with a keyboard. That's absolutely fine too. But having just one of these devices now is a little bit outdated too. There are many things that we do where we can use our mobile phone. So if you imagine trying to make a video with one of these, it's quite difficult. So anything that you can hold in one hand and use in one hand is what I would call a handheld device. And we're asking all our students to also have access to a handheld device that can take video and sound. So there are many, when we have the combination of the two, a big enough screen to work off comfortably, to be able to enter and really type and put in information, as well as a mobility to move around and capture things in the world. We really open up a lot of opportunities for our students. And then on top of that, so that we keep the environment quiet when they're accessing things, is the earphones. We found that earphones are very important. We can't listen to a video when 20 other people are listening to a video in the room. So those are mainly the requirements. And later today, you'll receive a letter from Mrs. Smith. And it'll bring you to this site. Actually, it will bring you to this page of the site, the middle school. So there's some information there for you to read. But one of the things is the BYOT requirements, and it sort of spells it all out there. How they access the internet is through our Wi-Fi. We have campus Wi-Fi. I don't know if anybody has tried to find Wi-Fi whilst you came or something. You might have seen there is an AIS BYOT Wi-Fi there. And if you have an AIS email, you can log in. So we can maintain the internet connection for the students in a safe situation there. And the other requirement that we have is that all the devices that they have battery power that will last 6 hours. Because if you just bring that old computer that you dusted off and it only lasts half an hour and you need to plug it in all the time, that's going to cause some problems. So we're looking for devices that each has 6 hours of battery life at least. That you have a 9-inch screen. We don't want students trying to read something on the phone. We don't want students trying to type something on an iPad, which takes up, the keyboard takes up half of the screen. But also the ability to move around and capture information. So here's some ideas. We put together some ideas for you as well. So idea number 1 is an iPad Air. The iPad Mini is a smaller screen. So I did have somebody ask about that. So I wouldn't recommend only the iPad Mini. If you want just one device, probably the best thing you can get is an iPad Air with the keyboard cover. You're ready, you're set to go. It's handheld, you can walk around with it in one hand, but I can also put it into the keyboard and type my essay whilst everybody else is and access the internet, everything, okay? Another option is the Chromebook. The Chromebook is probably the most affordable laptop that you can get now, or there are also some net PCs or something like that. So that's a possibility. A Chromebook is like a laptop. They come in a number of sizes. but the operating system is not Windows or Apple on there. They're using a new operating system by Google Chrome. Everything is stored on the internet, so there's barely a hard disk on there. When you open it up, and at AIS we're using the Google system, so when you open it up, it asks you to log in. You log in with your AIS email, and everything is there already. You don't have to set it up, you don't have to worry about it. And has anybody got children in grade 4 or grade 5 next year? Yeah, so they're moving into a Chromebook in grade 4 and 5. So the idea is every student in grade 4 and 5 will move with a Chromebook, and that will grow into the middle school system as well. So out of grade 6 you can bring that. Yes?
So to take a Chromebook is better than to take an iPad Air?
It's not necessarily a better, and it's a good question. Better is loaded. One of the main things about BYOT, the philosophy behind it, is about the individual. We recognize that every person learns differently. So if I like the iPad because that's, I'm used to it and it fits how I work, then great, I should get that. But if I'm a person that everything's on Google, and I like everything's on my browser in Chrome, that's the kind of person that maybe a Chromebook works really well. So you get a full browser. The iPad doesn't use it, just has a mobile browser, so there's some features that are limited. However, you might not get the same apps. So it's a personal choice, and there are many, many options. So this is one option. This option is very affordable because you can get a Chromebook for about $2,500. And if your child already has a smartphone of some sort, they can access the internet on their phone, then this is a very easy option. As you go up towards high school though, we do have some students using the Chromebook in high school and they love it, it's not a problem. As you go up towards upper, middle school and high school, a lot of the students we find tend to prefer a bigger laptop or a better, something that lasts a little longer, like a MacBook Air. So a lot of all middle school students currently have been using the MacBook Airs at school with the cart. So they're probably quite familiar with that. So that is something I can recommend. And so if you have a MacBook Air and you have a smartphone or something, you've got that covered. Yes?
Because I buy my son one computer, do I need to buy a new one for him?
Yeah, good question. So if your son is going to use the iPad, if it's a normal.
We have already a laptop, an iPad, and phone.
Right.
Do I need to switch off this all kind of equipment because of this?
So those would be okay. So if he brings an iPad, not the mini, but the normal iPad with a keyboard, fine, perfect. Yeah.
So I would like to know if I need to change all the equipment.
You don't need to change any equipment at all, so long as you meet these requirements. So you can bring the laptops that you already have, iPads that you already have. If they already have a smartphone, they can use that.
It's able to bring their handphone around with them.
Yes. And actually, we require them to bring their handphone. If the handphone is their handheld device that they want to use, then we require them to bring it to the classroom. Okay?
I see that there's a Wi-Fi on, right?
Yes.
AIS device and AIS.
Yes. There's a number of Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So student can use AIS.
So when we come in, and this is a big part of it as we go on, when we come in, the students will have access to their account, their Wi-Fi, so they will log in. We give them an account, right? And with that, particularly with middle school, a big part of it is the responsibility of that. So we're looking at kind of like a driver's license. You don't just get on the road and start driving recklessly. You have to learn how to be responsible, how to behave, how to follow the rules, how to understand our community, how to interact with others. So that's the way that we're going forward.
They will have a username and password.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and they will earn that through their license, their digital license.
Start, which is like middle school next year.
Yes, starting middle school. So there's another idea. Another idea we have is the Surface Pro. I've had a couple of students using these. They're a Windows version of an iPad, but it's actually a full computer. It's like the iPad is sort of much more simplified. This is a full computer, and you can buy a keyboard with it for about $6,000, $7,000 Hong Kong dollars. And that's one device. They don't need to carry any other device for that. Are there other questions? Should I stop and ask?
This one, this idea tree, why do you need that iPad and the device?
Because I have my MacBook. Then the teacher says, okay, go and make a movie. It's very difficult, right? And there's a number of other things as well. In our high school, we've got a couple of, the math teacher in high school, Mr. Khan, has been trialing this out with his students. There's a web platform he uses. He sets up a question and just says, okay, so what's the answer, A, B, or C? And they can just press on their phone, A, B, or C. They still have on their table, they might have their textbook or something open. So instead of taking up all the space, there are some applications where a mobile device makes a lot more sense. So, and I think the other thing is the ability to move around and capture things. So if you're here for the grade 5, you've seen the portfolios, grade 6, 7, 8, you've seen them using portfolios. A big part of that is capturing their work. And the mobile device has been so much easier than, I've got to try and get my artwork in front of my computer. Yeah?
I'm a high school teacher. One of the things to use mobile devices rather than laptops. What if you're doing a demonstration or doing experiments, you can't get everybody with a laptop around your bench. So mobile device, I find much better.
Yeah, just the space, and so lots of different applications.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be an iPad, it could be just like a mobile phone.
Right. Yeah, a mobile phone. There are big requirements, so the things that you have to look for if your device is not on our list here is that you can have Wi-Fi, that you have the battery life, that you can access, it's on there? It's on a bit further down. That you can access the web. That you can access the web on it, so you have a web browser. And that's about it. Any other questions with that? So this will come out to you later today through a letter from Mr. Smith. And we've talked a little bit about these things already, the reason why we go into BYOT, and the things that we really want to encourage is the individualization, the personalization, that, I work this way, so that's why I use this device. And I like to take notes. So maybe I need a device where I have a pen, so I like that. I like writing things down. I like, recording things. I like doing more computer programming, so I have a better computer for doing that. So we're looking at getting it personalized and individualized so that people can students can follow their interests and work to their best. But also with that, they start to learn about themselves, about how they learn, right? And that's really important. It also puts the responsibility on the student. We have found through many years here, students take care of their device much more than they take care of the school device. But they also get to know it much better, right? They know how it works. They customize it so they can get to that screen faster or whatever. They have their bookmarks. And then we just find the whole process so much more efficient when it's theirs. And again, the BYOT. So another big difference with that is we're already focusing. We don't say we are a Windows school or an Apple school or anything like that. We don't need to say that. We're focusing much more on the results. Is that effective for you? Are you learning with that? Right? What is working for you? How can it be better? So we're not focusing on the technology, but rather the philosophy is much more about what can we achieve. And in terms of value, this is what I perceive, what I've seen over the last 2-3 years with students bringing in things. This is what they first find. I can access stuff. This is great. This is a top level thing. I can get some information that before I couldn't get. But slowly as they do that, they also realize that they get that information, get this information, and when they start using it, they start creating things and they get feedback from other people. So they're getting information from very valuable sources like their peers and their teachers. So there's a communication element that's really important there. And they start to use it on that level. And as you get that feedback back, when you look over your work, you really have a bit more of a reflecting perspective as well. And so that's another value that gets added. You know, when you put your portfolio together, when you look back over your work, when you think, why do I like this device, or why do I do this, you start to learn more about yourself. And that's where we're really interested in, the feedback and that reflective part for students learning. Do I have anything much else? I'm going to skip through very quickly the next few bits because I think we'll get to questions will be better. But particularly for parents and adults with our students, our children using technology. So we definitely have to come with the idea that there needs to be guidance. We can't just give them the device and right, okay, that's it, go for it. Because just like I was saying with my daughter, she put on the makeup all over the place and then she'll go out, look, I look so pretty. And there's definitely a lot of learning to go on. But we also have to come about with the mindset that it's evolution. They will make mistakes along the way. And that's where our guidance comes in. So the main things I have here are just 4 things that as parents we should probably look for. First thing is their digital diet. A lot of parents are worried, hey, they go on the computer all the time. Is this healthy? You know, what's good, what's not? Is there a number of hours they should be on the screen, right? And then the same as with food. Is there a weight of food that I should be eating? Well, the answer is, well, it depends what's in that food, right? When are you eating it and what else are you doing? And all that balance. So the idea of a digital diet is very important. We should keep an eye on how are they using technology, right? And how long and how is it affecting them? And what's the balance? How is it only that, or are they doing other things? And when they're on there, are they communicating? Are they doing things that are helping with their learning? Or is it all just this, or all just that? Are they becoming addicted or really obsessed with certain things? And so that's what we have to look at. It's a digital diet. The second one, I know Ms. Smith mentioned in the grade 5 meeting, is the multitasking and task switching. So a lot of students, and this is amazing, we've been doing this for the last 3 years in high school, one of our courses. One class we have a unit about multitasking. And we talk about what is multitasking and can you multitask is one of the things. And they all say yes. I can multitask. Right, give us an example. And they say they can do this and this together and that together or whatever. And as they read through and they learn about multitasking, they realize that actually they're not really multitasking. And what they're doing is they're switching from one task to another. So rather than doing one task to a very deep level, for example, bit of homework, here's the question, and if I spend 5 minutes on it, maybe I can come up with a really good answer and type it up. Instead, I read the question, get on my chat, come back, oh yes, I was on this question. So it takes me some more time to switch. And then I'm thinking about it a little bit, but in my mind I'm also thinking about that other chat. Oh, messages come across, I'm going to read that email and come back to it. 10 minutes has gone by and I maybe only have a very shallow answer. So we need to educate. This is a big blind side that our teenagers nowadays have. They don't realize that they can't multitask. You can walk and you can think, you can walk and you can sing a song, but you can't sing a song and tell a story at the same time. And the reason is because we're using the same part of our body for that. We're using our brain. We can only use our brain, that thinking, processing, only for one task at a time. So we're really teaching. Unless you're Leonardo da Vinci, and then you can write 2 things at the same time. Amazing. Like that. A big part also for parents, we need to think about a safe environment. And by safe, it means, yes, you know, we have to be aware of where they're going and what they're doing online. Yes, that's important. But also safe means that it's okay to make mistakes, right? That that we use our love for our child to say, you know, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. And when you make a mistake, I'm here to, you know, help to correct you. And if we build up that kind of an environment, then not only are we helping to keep them safe, not only do we open an opportunity for us to help guide them in the right direction, but also we open up that risk-taking sort of creativity that is very important that they can experiment, that they can, so long as they know and they are aware of what the rules are and it's in a safe environment. And that environment often leads us to the last big one, which is about communication. And this is where a lot of the problems we see. Coming to technology in a school, there's always people that say, I don't know if we should do it. I think there's going to be lots of problems. And about 90% of the problems that people put forward, usually it comes down to some kind of communication, some respect or responsibility issue. The technology just brings that behavior or makes it more available. The issue comes down to somewhere with maybe there's a lack of communication, a lack of understanding, a lack of knowing that this is my responsibility, that I should be respecting or behaving in this way. So communication is so key, and we really need to be able to listen to our children, be able to get to their level wherever they are, and really be a part of that. And then we have to also be assertive. We have a lot of situations where parents are like, I don't know what to do, they say no, or whatever it is. And we have to also be assertive parents, right? To say, yeah, no, these are the rules, and that's what they are. To have our say in everything. And also the other one is clarity. To be very clear. So talking about them up front is very important. To say, this is the device, I'm providing it for you for learning, but these are the things that I'm expecting. And to make that very clear. You make that clear at the beginning is much easier than to say, oh no, that's what I was expecting, 5 months down the way, when they use it differently. So that's all I have to really put forward to you. It's more questions and sharing that.
Regarding my son is in grade 5, right? He's using his computer searching on his project, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I see is sometimes multitasking is not his problem. He knows that he has to hand me his phone. He needs to focus on his project.
Great.
But nowadays, what I see is he's bombarded with too many information, too much.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to draw the line of what he needs to read, how many pages he has to open in order to finish that project on time. So let's say for a 2 hours project, he will spend like 1 hour 30 minutes for searching on the web, and 30 minutes we just left for his writing, which is not enough.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if the school can help them to give a guidance,
Yes.
on how much time you have to do for your searching, kind of like a planning. So how much time you put on your writing in order to put up a good project, a well-balanced presentation. How do you do it? So I'm not sure what the school do.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think that is very much the situation where we are. We grew up in a world where it was hard to access information. Now our children grow up in a world where there's too much information. How can I filter or get what I need?
Yeah.
And I agree, time, being aware of time is a very important part. But there's another part as well, which is being aware of what you need, what is required, right? And I see that a lot, particularly in high school. I've seen that where students struggle with really chunking down that task that they have and trying to do just what's required. Our students tend to do too much. They tend to think that the teacher's given maybe an hour's worth of homework, and they tend to see it as 3 or 4 hours because they want to be perfect. They want to get all the information. And that's a real skill, to be able to say, to work to time, but also to realize that I don't have to get everything perfect. There's too much information, and to filter down just what I need. Yeah.
And sometimes they can't even tell, like some of the history project which I've done before, I know what is the answer for that project, but he can't tell what is the real information, what's the fake information.
Yes.
They need to realize that some information online is not true, it's not real.
That's a curriculum issue that's part of what we're working in, and it's actually part of the Common Core in certain ways, is to be able to disseminate that information and to process it. And so that's something that we do work on and try to work on with kids in the middle school is, what sites do you go to for research? Is Wikipedia the first one that we should be going to? Or are you looking, even is it a .com, is it a .edu, is it a Like, what is that? And helping students understand that part of researching. It's a skill, it's changed and it's evolved. When I was in school, there was no internet, right? It was go to the library, go to the card catalog, sift through, find the magazine in the stack or the encyclopedia. Now it's completely different. So it's a new set of skills that the teachers need to learn, but the students need to learn. And we try to work with them on that. A lot of teachers will start off at the beginning of, here's 6 sites to check out to try and answer, rather than doing a complete Google search, right? And randomly looking for anything. Here are some recommended sites for you to go through, because even within those sites, there's searching skills that are involved in synthesizing information.
Yeah, it's a core part of curriculum.
Other questions? There must be many.
Or thoughts or things you want to share? Yeah.
Is there a minimum recommendation type of processor or memory?
Yeah, good question. Again, it depends. So it sort of brings us back to what devices should I be looking at, and it's a good question to ask. There isn't a minimum processor or a minimum thing that you need to look at, other than you need a 9-inch screen and the keyboard and the handheld device. One of the things you will see, so how long you will expect that lifetime of that equipment is important too. So if you take, say, 3 or 4 years, if I'm going to buy a new bit of equipment, where is my child going to be in 3 or 4 years' time? What do they need to use it for? So you may find that if they just have a very simple device that they kind of, it does the job now, maybe in 2 years' time, when they have more complicated tasks, maybe it's more, and usually it's more the multimedia things that are taxing, programming, those kind of things, those are the more taxing ones. So it really, you have to look at the features and the functions that it's going to be used for. I would recommend, if you want to be safe, when you look at a Chromebook or a MacBook
What is
Air,
the best recommendation for the kids to gotta save this kind of site? Because
Yeah.
I'm going to do it device entire. I want to upload for my son that they make sure it's secure, that they don't have anything to put.
yeah.
Here's the dirt, right? Your kids might see this as an opportunity. Yes! I get the latest laptop and the iPad and the phone, and I need it for school, Mom and Dad. Come on! Not the case, okay? Really, from a middle school perspective, and we're new with a lot of this, and I think it depends, as Mr. Chu said, you've got to look at the long term down the road. What an 8th grader may need is going to be different than what a 6th grader may need. You know your child. How responsible is your child? Are they going to be leaving it on the bus? Are they going to be spilling their water bottle on it? You need to, all of that needs to come into play into the decision, okay? Option 2, is it? What's the first option again? I forget what okay. A student would be fine, all right, with ideally option 1 would be fine, okay? It's got everything, it's easy. Middle school students currently in grade 6 and grade 7 are fairly familiar with Mac. Going from the Mac Airs that they're used to an iPad, there is some differences, but they'll figure it out well before I will. I have no doubt about that. Option 2, the Chromebook, is probably the easiest, most financial, best option. Okay, walking around, most of your children have a smartphone already. Really, it's just picking up a laptop, which is 2,000 to 3,000 Hong Kong. And that would work. Middle school does a ton of work on Google Drive. Okay, most English teachers submit essays on that. They can access their online textbooks through that. They can submit work. I'm not overly familiar with a lot of the Google Play apps that are available, but from what I hear, it's constantly developing and it's fabulous. Your children would know more than I do in regards to that. The one that they're probably most comfortable with, but is a more expensive option, is going to be purchasing them a MacBook Air. Because they, especially if they're currently in grade 6 or grade 7, they've been using them thanks to the PTA for 2 years. Okay, so they are familiar with that already. Bit of a more expensive option, but it's also a more powerful machine. So if your child is going to be in grade 8 and you're looking at long-term value, that for a student going to high school the following year, okay, assuming you don't want to buy a new computer every year, is also a feasible option. More money that you spend does not necessarily mean it's a better device and a better option for your child, no matter what your child says. Okay? It's really about giving them the chance to be able to access the internet. It's still really important, if you go with option 1, the iPad, the keyboard must come with it.
And they don't need to carry any books to school, or do they? Because if they get
At this point in time, for this particular year, we're not requiring any particular apps or anything like that. So we're not saying that, okay, you have to do this, reload, download this, and have it set up this way. We're not going with that for this current year. Anything in terms of their textbooks are either, for example, their English, social studies, and math are online textbooks. So anything that has a web browser, they can access. And their other subject that has a textbook is Mandarin. That's a workbook that they're actually physically given it. So as long as they can get online, the MacBook Air, the Chromebook, they can access their textbooks, they can do the required assignments.
And you'll see, I think, that's the evolution part. It won't just switch like that, right? We have some devices, and slowly our students will find better ways, our children will find better ways of doing the work, because they're still used to writing things down and everything. But also teachers will find better ways, and as textbooks become more, digital copies and electronic resources are more available, so we'll see that growth, but it won't be straight away, right? We go and then there's no more textbooks. It'll slowly, you'll see more and more will become maybe more digital, away from some of the bigger textbooks.
I just want to know, since now the school is a Wi-Fi free whole school, right? So is the school like blocking any site that is not appropriate to the kids?
Yes.
And also another question is, like, during break time, lunch time, will the teacher advise them not to use their iPhone?
I'm going to start with question 2 and then you answer question 1. So currently, we tell the students during lunchtime, and lunchtime there's sort of 2 parts to it. They're in the cafeteria eating for the first half, and then it's recess playtime. They can stay in the cafeteria if they want, or they can go out and play. 119 is currently a tech-free zone. So we did away with that last year. We used to say they could use their phones. We no longer let them use their phones or their computers. It's you're sitting eating, there's no need for technology on the table, have a good old-fashioned conversation. Once recess hits, 119 remains tech-free, but if you want to go on your device, then you have to do it outside of 119. We're currently looking at continuing that policy. In terms of, because ideally it's that switch for the students to realize that their device that they use for fun, gaming, Minecraft, Facebook, all of that, is also an educational tool. So we don't want it to be the fun per se, not that classes aren't fun, but we don't want it to be the fun, check your Facebook during class time. That's your break time or your recess time. However, 119 will still, we're looking at it and it may change, but for next year, 119 will still be for middle school, a tech-free zone, have a conversation with your friends.
And I
Blogging sites.
think to build on that also, there's also a disparity in some things in education. I have seen so many times student who they're really interested in something. So when they're online, when they're, whenever they have free time, they're doing that. But we, as teachers, we don't always make that connection, right? And luckily in IT, I think it's a little easier because they're there and, we have projects so they can make that connection more. Great, you like that? Let's do a project based on that. So we can bring it back in and do some learning about that. So I think it's still really important that they can, access that kind of activity. And for us to be able to be a part of that and to go, wow, okay, you're really interested in, and bring the learning to them, bring the education to them, right? So I think that's really important too. In terms of our Wi-Fi, we have a system called Meraki Cisco. It's made by Cisco, one of the big providers. And one of the units that we have, so we have optical fiber connection throughout the school, all going through to one big unit that goes to the internet. And that one big unit is actually both a firewall and a gateway to all of our buildings. The firewall part means that we can prohibit types of sites. So for example, adult sites, gambling sites, distasteful hate sites, those kind of things. We actually can just put in they have a long list of terms. And the sites that they look up or they block out is actually managed in the US through continual research. So it's actually a very up-to-date, so we don't have to take the responsibility, we hear there's some site, we have to find it, we don't know about it, then they still access. We don't have to worry about that so much. So it's one of the sort of state-of-the-art in terms of the firewall system. So it's very important that we keep that safe. But we also have to recognize that if a student does want to find a way onto something, they just go on their 4G network or they go on something else, they'll find a way. So we really do believe that education and being that part, building that safe environment, like I said, it's okay to make mistakes, to build that environment and that rapport, I think it's really good.
It's about teaching them and guiding them.
So I really believe in the ethics of promoting to the kids that what is right, what is wrong. And my son really into hacking. He really like it and really think it's cool by hacking into somebody things. So I keep telling him that it's not right, it's not it's not cool, So I believe it's the ethics,
So that's a good one because with hacking, hacking when it first started was a very positive thing. I have some device, I want to make it do something else, so it's a good thing. So the white hat hacker is that good person, the black hat hacker. So you can ask him about is he a white hat or a black hat? And it can be a very brilliant. So he's probably a great white hat hacker. So, that's a great thing, and I think there's always a positive side. I mean, they are our children, so they want to do the right thing, I'm sure. And sometimes getting to know what it is.
I think it's what kids when they know where is the safe things to be done and know where it's I believe even though we block, there's always one way if they wanted to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think if you block it's because we have to tell them this is the best way we can control these kind of things. Because whether they're going to block, it's always when the kids want it, they always find a way how to do it.
I want to just be aware of the time because it is 2 o'clock and there is a PTA meeting, which I would like to encourage you to go to. We are more than welcome to stay here and answer more questions. Should you have more questions? or if you want to just carry on the conversation. Otherwise, there is a PTA meeting in the conference room back in 125.
I do have a good old business paper-based card, but it only has my email in there, so it's all digital in the end. All right.